In this video, I'm going to share with you 12 mistakes that subtly make you look like an unrefined person. Often, the worst part is making these mistakes without even realizing it. Hi, how are you? I'm Juliana Santiago, etiquette consultant and teacher, and this is the Etiquette and Protocol Institute channel, the Etiquette and Protocol channel. And here we always talk about behavior, good manners, etiquette rules, and much more. Today, I'm going to share with you 12 mistakes, 12 slip-ups that you make and often don't even notice. Subtle, discreet mistakes, but they define you. To be considered a person without class, without manners, someone who isn't elegant and also isn't polite. So let's go. Subtly bragging is a very ugly thing, and people do it a lot. We have this habit of always talking about things we've done, about achievements we've had, and we also talk a lot in the first person. Often this bragging occurs subtly. It comes with an arrogance that for you who are speaking might sound normal, might seem fine, but it's actually very rude. So for example, when someone says to you, "Wow, what a beautiful sweater," and you turn and say, "It is beautiful, right? It's Paris." It makes it seem like you want to stand out, that you want to show off, that you wear expensive things, that you care about where things come from, and you really value material possessions. This also happens when someone compliments your purse and you reply, "Yes, it's beautiful. It's from Louis Vuitton." I know it might seem natural to you, but to someone else, it might look like you're bragging and really want to be the center of attention. So if the person didn't ask you where you bought it, didn't ask about the brand of the item, there's no need for you to say anything. You should always answer only what you were asked. Be very careful also when you use phrases like that. It's very easy for me. This is very simple for me. I can do this very quickly. Because many times it might be something that the person does very slowly or doesn't have much skill at. So it ends up looking like you really want to stand out in the group. And it ends up being seen that way in a not very elegant manner. People don't like that. Speaking loudly in public places may seem like something simple and easy to control, but those who have a slightly louder voice have a lot of difficulty keeping their voice down in public places. So this is something we need to adjust right away. There's nothing worse than people coming up to you and saying this: "Wow, I knew you were in this restaurant because I heard your voice from the door." I know this might seem like a sign that your personal brand is present in that environment, that you're a memorable person, but actually what the person is trying to tell you is that you're speaking too loudly. So be very careful with that, because when it comes to a restaurant, a movie theater, or even everyday places like a supermarket or even a gym, having a louder tone of voice can disturb other people and make them extremely uncomfortable with your presence. Being chronically late is also something we need to adjust in our behavior. Of course, being late occasionally is something that happens. And when that happens, we need to let the host know, the owner of the event, the person who is organizing that meeting, in the case of work, that we are going to be late. But if you are late too often, it ends up becoming part of your personality. It becomes one of your traits, and it's not a positive trait. After all, if you are always late to events, people don't feel like they can count on you or trust you. I know this might sound a bit exaggerated when I say it like this at first, but think about someone who is always late. Can you really count on that person? The answer is no. Neglecting your personal hygiene is also something that can happen. It may seem simple and easy to fix, but we need to remember that our personal hygiene needs to be appropriate for any environment, whether it's in our daily life, going to the gym, to the supermarket, or when we take our child to school, or even in more special situations like a party or a work meeting. Something where it's really necessary for you to be up to date with your hygiene. So, for example, if you have the habit of always having bad breath, if you're someone who sweats and has body odor very often, it's important that you check on that. So, if this is something frequent in your life and some people end up pointing it out to you, it's worth taking it to the doctor and getting it checked. Personal hygiene also includes all the other aspects like your hair, your nails, all of that. These will also be subtle factors that will convey elegance and class about you and your personality. And just like we have a lack of personal hygiene, we also have an excess of perfume. Whenever I talk about class, I always emphasize this issue of perfume because many people believe that being an elegant person, a sophisticated person, has to do with using too much perfume. So first, pay close attention to the environment you're in. For example, if at your workplace, the workstations are very close to each other, avoid wearing a very strong perfume. For example, at the gym, there's no need to wear a very strong perfume. Since you're going to sweat and there will be that mix with the perfume, that smell will evaporate among the people present. That won't be interesting either. That also happens, for example, in delicate situations like at the wake, for example. Wearing a very strong perfume, is something that will really leave the place with that smell in a completely delicate situation. So it's important for us to be aware of that. Of course, not wearing any perfume isn't ideal, but wearing too much is also completely negative. Not replying to messages is also something that subtly conveys a lack of class. So, when someone sends you a message and you don't reply, or sometimes you even read it planning to reply later but end up forgetting. I know that in everyday life, situations like these are common, but it's important for us to get into the habit of trying to reply when we read a message. Even if it's just a reply like, I'll get back to you later, I'll let you know later if I can make it to your event. So make it the habit to reply to messages, especially when it comes with an invitation to a birthday, an event, or a meeting. Always remember to reply. Nowadays, WhatsApp itself already has those reactions that make it really easy for us to agree, say thank you, or even send a feeling with our messages. So something really practical that I think works well, so we don't seem like we ignored that message. And of course, you can't forget to read or ignore this channel. So if you like the videos and you're always around, like this video, leave a comment and subscribe to the channel to always receive content from the Etiquette and Protocol channel. Still talking about messages, we need to mention something special, which is arguing in WhatsApp groups. Who has never been in a mom's group or a building condo group? And notice that an argument happened there? Sometimes it wasn't you who brought up those topics or even argued in the group. But for sure, when you saw someone else doing that, you felt like they were being tacky and unnecessary. Did that person really need to do that? That's why this habit isn't a good idea for us. Even though communication through WhatsApp groups is becoming more and more popular among us, we need to hold back a little on our need to share our opinions in the group. So, for example, if you weren't happy with something that happened in your building or something that happened there, that some mother from your child's class did and you didn't approve, there's no need to send it in the group. Send a private message, call that person, or even, if possible, try to arrange an in-person meeting. Nowadays, people have changed the way they communicate a bit. Electronic communication is becoming more and more present. But we need to understand that text messages often don't come with tone of voice. So sometimes, even if you're speaking in a calm way, the other person reading it might not interpret it the same way. So we need to understand that sometimes a phone call or even meeting in person will always be the best solution to talk and have difficult conversations. Speaking without sensitivity to the other person's reality. If you're someone who is used to talking about your experiences, the things you do, the trips you've taken, the restaurants you go to, you need to pay attention to who you talk to about these topics. There are times when we need to hold back a little on our urge to tell someone because we don't really know what it is. The other person, that person is going through their own reality, whether they're facing financial problems or even dealing with some difficulty. I know that many times you're just there, simply sharing an experience, and there's no ill intent at all. But it's important for you to notice and read a little into how the other person reacts when you share something. If you notice that the person seemed a bit uncomfortable, change the subject. If they seem so uninterested, often it's not because they don't want to be nice to you. It's because they're dealing with a place of discomfort, or maybe they notice there's a distance between you two. So it's important for us to be sensitive when we're going to share something with someone. Parking in a prohibited area, claiming it'll be quick too, it's something that really makes you a person without class. Many times we have the habit of thinking only about ourselves. I'm going to park here in this spot for the elderly and disabled because it'll be quick. I'm just going into the pharmacy, I'll buy some medicine, and then I'll leave. But we need to understand that if that spot is there, if that's the place for the elderly or disabled, it's there for a reason, because those people need that space. So we need to stop thinking that the world revolves around us and that it's quick for you, but sometimes it might not be. So be careful. This also applies to parking, for example, on the street, in front of garages, in places where parking is prohibited. Here, even in the building where I live, to share something personal, there's a street and there's a sign that says parking is prohibited. But people always park there, and often they park in front of the garage at my building. And I know this might sound a bit unreal, but this happens every day. We, the residents of the building, have to honk and ask people to move. And the worst part is, many times people refuse to move their cars, even though they're parked where it's not allowed. Leaving your cell phone on the table, or even leaving it face up on the table. Sometimes it's not a good idea to leave our cell phone on the table. This happens, for example, when we're going to eat something. It's better to have other items on the table, and the cell phone is not part of a properly set table. But what about when you're going to have a meeting, for example? Many times your cell phone needs to be there because you might want to show some photos or show something to the person in front of you. And you want to keep your cell phone there close to you, but what should we do? And what is something that changes? The trick is to put your cell phone face down, because if it's face up, notifications keep popping up. And even without meaning to, we end up looking to the side. We end up wanting to see what's happening there. And that shows a lack of attention to that moment. The other person sees the gathering isn't that interesting and notices you're more focused elsewhere. So it's something really simple that sometimes happens in a fraction of a second, but it's good for you to avoid it. I strongly recommend it. So just leave your phone face down. And it's really those subtle details that make us look classless, isn't it? They're simple things, but if we really start to notice them, we can change the game in the way people perceive and interpret us. And if you really want to master good behavior, etiquette rules, and make sure people always have a positive and elegant image of you, come join my etiquette and good manners training. In fact, this training is on a great promotion. So if you've always dreamed of taking this training, this is the perfect time for you to join. Don't forget to click the link in the description and take advantage of this special discount. Especially for you who have always wanted to join my training and haven't had the opportunity yet, I'm waiting for you. Making noise is also another thing that really makes people interpret you in a very negative way. Often people who eat noisily don't even notice they're doing it. So be very careful if you're someone who listens. When you chew, try to check with other people, maybe someone close to you, if they can also hear you while you chew. Because usually when we hear it, the other person is also hearing it. So it's important for us to adjust this. And another point we need to work on is not speaking badly about our partner in front of other people. That's something totally inappropriate. So making little jokes about your partner, teasing them a bit. It might seem like you're a cool person, someone who likes to interact, but when that turns into excess, it should be avoided. If you often say, oh, my husband is always like that, he always does this. If there's a lazy person, it's my husband, be careful. If you have any personal dissatisfaction, let's talk at home, it's much better. And you saw that in the previous topic, I even talked about table etiquette. And I wanted to leave here at the end of this video a recommendation for a video about table etiquette mistakes that can embarrass you. I think they'll really complement this video's content.